Thank you very much, Congresswoman Tanny, for speaking with Voice of America. I want to start by the legislation you recently introduced, China Watcher Act. It's a bill aims to monitor China's influence worldwide. Can you tell us a little bit more about this legislation, and why do you think it's so important to counter China's influence in foreign countries?
Yeah, it was very important for me to come out with something like the China Watcher program, which actually creates a department in the Department of State to monitor China's malignant activities around the world, economically, politically, and militarily, against American allies, and their influence, particularly the People's Republic of China, the Communist Party, were concerned about their influence across all regions, particularly, obviously, their recent actions that are aggressive against Taiwan and Taiwan's airspace, with numerous flights that have been recorded and appearing to have aggressive action, and we want to make sure that the 1979 agreement is respected and that not breached by China, and I think it's up to America to stand up, but we also have to be protecting our allies' interests around the world, and that's why we put forth the China Watcher bill. The bill is co-sponsored by the ranker, Congressman McCall from Texas. We also have bipartisan support. Dean Phillips and also Albio Ciras are sponsoring it, and obviously we have support across bipartisan members in the Foreign Affairs Committee. So we are very hopeful that this will be something that will be passed into law.
We are also aware that the State Department reportedly plans to expand the number of officials dedicated to monitor China. Do you see a sense of urgency from across the aisle on this issue?
Well, I think some members, especially those on the Foreign Affairs Committee, those who are dealing with the trade issues, are more sensitive to the aggressive actions that China is taking. I do think there should be some urgency and projection of strength by the administration, which is why I hope they adopt my China Watcher bill and create this special program within the Department of State to bolster the projection that, that we are strongly going after China. We are definitely going to be monitoring their activities throughout the world. Economically, we know China is pushing their Belt and Road Initiative throughout the world. They're leveraging their great financial and economic strength, military strength across the regions of the world, and we want to make sure that we're on top of that we don't lose ground to them. And it's just particularly concerning with Taiwan being so critically important in that region of the world, and making sure that China doesn't become the great hegemon in that region and have complete domination beyond Taiwan into the rest of the South Asian seas.
Now let's talk about Taiwan. Since October, China has been stepping up its military activities near Taiwan. Now it's easy to see that becomes a flashpoint potentially between the U.S. and China. Do you think it's time to review or change our One China policy?
Well, obviously I feel like Taiwan has been put in an unfortunate situation by China, and that it's time for the U.S. to act. After what we witnessed in Hong Kong, I think it's time to revisit the One China policy. I think it's time to remember that we are the country that's the beacon of hope for democratic principles, for freedom, and the fact that China has clamped down and stifled the efforts in Hong Kong. I don't want Taiwan to be a Hong Kong. And so revisiting the One China policy is something I think we really need to do, because China is not living up, and I see China in a general sense, meaning the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, they are not living up to their end of the bargain, and this is supposed to be, their support of this, the whole reason for that 1979 agreement was to be able to create these open economic channels, our support militarily of Taiwan, and so China seems to be overly aggressive and really testing the United States on that policy. So I feel like right now is a time to definitely revisit it, and I think this Taiwan situation, particularly coming to head right now in response to what happened in Afghanistan, I think that we want to make sure that the administration stands up, which is why I think my China Watcher bill is so important right now. I think the administration could gain a lot of strength from it, and I think it would be important in a very bipartisan way for us to show that we stand up for democracies and we stand with Taiwan, And I think now more than ever we need to show that, and it needs to be shown on the presidential level as well, and through the State Department.
President Biden said that the U.S. will come to Taiwan's defense if China invaded, although State Department say there's no change in U.S. position. And now we have the confirmation from the President of Taiwan that there are Marine boots on the ground in Taiwan. Some people, including members of Congress, have called for an end to the policy of strategic ambiguity with regard to Taiwan. How do you think the U.S. can most effectively send a signal to Beijing and deter China's aggression towards Taiwan?
Well, obviously we can assist Taiwan as we promised militarily with cyber assistance, with missiles, with help in the Taiwan Strait in terms of having some type of mine system there and to keep China at bay. I think we need to do that. We need to be aggressive. I think now is not the time to back off. China is testing us. I think that's what all those, I don't know, there's almost 200 missions now have been flown. It's 160 to 200, somewhere in that range. I don't know as of today's date. Now more than ever, we need to project the strength and we need to stand by it. We can't just talk about it. We need to act. And helping militarily, I think, sends a message. We know Taiwan needs our assistance. They do not have the military strength of China. China has one of the strongest navies in the world right now, and obviously with the new carriers coming out and a lot of the equipment that they're showcasing, to show strength. I think the United States needs to now show China that we are going to stand with Taiwan, and doing that with bolstering our military support, again, as I indicated, also helping in any economic relationship and our partnership with them, with trade and other critical areas where we are in partnership with Taiwan.
Let's take a broader picture at Chinese military development. General Mark Milley, chairman of Joint Chief of Staff, called China's recent hypersonic weapon test very concerning and very close to a Sputnik moment. China has pushed back his comments and say the U.S. should stop framing China as an imaginary enemy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, it's first of all, we should not have not known about the hypersonic missile and only learning of it, particularly General Milley, from a press release put out by the Chinese Communist Party. But that being said, China is the biggest and most significant enemy, I should say enemy, let me hedge the words, competitor, as the president would say, to the United States. But in a sense, they are our biggest problem. They are today's Soviet Union to the United States. And as long as we do not continue to treat them that way, I think China is going to continue to be aggressive, and they're going to continue to leverage their Belt and Road Initiative in other countries, providing infrastructure and other ways where these countries just have no other opportunities, economic opportunities, other than to comply with the Chinese will. And so I really strongly believe that we need to deal with China as if it's the Soviet Union. The days of Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II and Margaret Thatcher standing up to the Soviet Union is what brought it down. I think we need to knock China back a few pegs by letting them understand they're not an imaginary beast out there. They're for real, and they are very serious about pursuing those means across the world. They project themselves in every corner of the earth, and they have a mission. They have a strategy to become the world's dominant leader, and they are not hesitating to move into that realm. And they're not. I almost worry that if we don't act more quickly, they will get there sooner than projected.
Our last question, how would you define or describe the future relationship between the U.S. and China moving forward? What concerns you the most?
I think the lack of human rights, their willingness to show complete disregard for their own people and for allies around the world, and their willingness to move into communities and other countries just for their own gain and not for the benefit of the world. As the United States, we've always been sort of altruistic in our foreign relations. The Chinese are very singular-minded. They're about world dominance, being the world hegemon. And I'm concerned that the United States has a naive view of what China's interests are. And as I alluded to earlier, I think the president's naive view about them just being a competitor, where they have an unfair advantage, where they have a history of stealing intellectual property from us. They unleashed a virus on the world that killed millions of people, including over 700,000 American citizens right here in the United States, and yet feel no need to be accountable. Their influence on the World Health Organizations and on other international organizations concerns me. their largest polluter in the world with no real interest. I mean, where are they at the COP conference right now talking about what they're doing? I think it's concerning, and I think we need to treat them as the risk they are to the world, and not a leader that we want to follow, an authoritarian regime with a bad human rights effort, and with without really good intentions of seeking power. It's power for the sake of being in power. And I'm concerned about our allies, and again, I cannot overstate how concerned I am about the condition in Taiwan now, and how important it is for the United States to stand up on the Taiwan issue. It is really serious, and it is going to be a defining moment in U.S. foreign policy, again, after Afghanistan. So I'm hoping the Biden administration follows through, as I said, with our China Watcher program and a lot of the initiatives we're putting through on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we let China know that we're serious about maintaining world order and maintaining a rules-based order that they do not respect in any way around the world.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Tanny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.